This is Mark, also known as AlertGames, and I'm going to show you the AGM-API and how it works with the website and how it works itself with your GameMaker game. So, first thing is I'll walk you through a typical sequence of how someone would use the API in their game. First of all, I added this dialogue-like box here that can pop up, and that helps to make it easy to just log in and not have to worry about the input fields. Here is multiple profiles that you can save on one computer, and these secure saves make it easier to not have to worry about changing between different profiles if somebody has a friend that wants to play on the same computer. And you can save or not save the password for these people. You can create a profile if you don't have one, and there is test host and test join here in case you want to test a multiplayer game on localhost. And if you don't have a multiplayer game, I'll get into how you can just get rid of that. So we're going to log in here, and now looking at the website, you'll see that the game is called Test Game, and it will show that I am now playing Test Game, as I have it called. I'll just retrieve the avatar here from test user, and there it is. It can be used. Now let's check out scores and achievements are a big part of some certain games. And I'm just going to put in a small number here and send an achievement. And most likely I already have that achievement gained, so it'll probably come back with has game point error, but it will save the score at the same time if it is greater. I'll show you how to get the responses back from the server in the API. We'll look at the high score tables now, and these are all the high scores that have been submitted to Test Game, and they show up on the website, and I can click here and see all those scores, or go to a friend's profile and see their scores and achievements, and also rivals, so scores close to that score. You can choose how many scores you want to get, and if you want to get the rivals, friends, or whatever you need. Okay, so there is also another portion, of course, which is the serverless and multiplayer. It's similar to the reflect system if you've ever played it, any of the games. So we'll go ahead and say host a server, my server, I just have name, password, and players here, but there's also game type and access. Alright, and here's the game lobby. Other people can join in the user box right here. You can chat, and my name is Test, so there it is. Here's a few sample options that are sent to the individual players from the host. And when you are ready, you can click the start game, and this doesn't have many features yet. I plan to improve upon it later, but for now I want to make sure that the API works really well. And from here you can either exit, which will put everyone out, or just end, and it will bring everyone back to the game lobby. From there, you can leave, everyone will be kicked out. And if there's another server online, you can join that game. So now that you have a feel for how the API kind of works, I'm going to show you how to deal with the programming portion. I made this API to be simple and portable for new games that I'd like to use a system with, but also for other people that would like to use the system and incorporate it into their games as easily as possible. So after working on it, I expanded it to cover for more functionality, more ease of use, and security. So when getting started, you should check out the basic stuff of the system. First thing is the loading, of course. This is done in the very beginning of the game, and I have it set up so that you can use an application data folder, app data folder, if possible. If not, it just goes to working directory, and this helps to keep everything organized on the computer, all the profiles, the player lists, the avatars, everything. Next I have the security object, which is important for your variables so people can't cheat as easily, and hopefully not at all. And then here's the important part, is the frameworks right here. And it's like you keep what frameworks you need to use for that game. It keeps the variables that are going to be returned back and what is going to be sent. So if you have a multiplayer game but you don't want to use my currently unfinished multiplayer, you still need to load the multiplayer framework to get the variables back from the server when you create it and it shows up on the website, but you don't have to use my system and all the scripts for dealing with the connections. And of course the logo, you can put yours and whatnot. And then security object, I have some documentation in case you get lost or whatever. This is an example of the frameworks. In case you need to maybe change a variable or add your own variables, you can do it here if you'd like. That's the login box. Probably won't need to deal with that. It's pretty self-contained. Achievements. You can set the achievements here. Then in this one, it checks if it's good. It's using the security object to make sure you're not cheating. Things are done in actions when you need to log in or get high scores or whatever. So let's say you are going to submit something, and here is an action right here. AGM action save GP, so obviously it's going to save the achievement there. There is a little window on the bottom that I have that can show an achievement, or you can use a better looking one maybe. And that goes to this action, which will send it to there's the multiplayer one, and it will send it to what controls the SQL, which will then process that and give a response back to the object that called that. So if you have a variable that you want to make sure that the transaction worked, then you would need to set that variable here to send back to that object. And I just have some basic variables like you got it equal to 1 or whatever you'd like. You shouldn't have to mess with that if you keep my own objects in there. And how they're set up in folders. This is the online folder, so it has the multiplayer scripts here. If you don't need the multiplayer, you could delete the multiplayer folder. You need the core, definitely. Here's the stats folder, stat reset to reset the profile if they change their profile or want to delete it or whatever. Save profile script saves the file securely, and export files can export your included files to the app data folder instead of the working directory, so people don't have to mess with the clutter of files and just move the exe around. If you ever played Minecraft, you can move the exe around and it will still work. Some security stuff, the DLL shortcuts, and here is test host and test join, which is for multiplayer. If you don't need them, you can delete them. They're used for these objects down here, test host and test join. It sets it up like an online server, but it sets the IP as 127.0.0.1. There's the temporary buttons. This is the login stuff. This is for checking and viewing high scores. Check high scores, just viewing. Server list, join, create, the list itself. The list itself has a lot of checks. This is a persistent object, the AG Online. This is for the multiplayer, and it handles the connection all the way through. All these alarms are just checked for like game ending and stuff like that, and whatever options you have. It handles the chat as well. And when you use the multiplayer, my multiplayer example here has everything stored in one script to make it easy to use the send and gets in the same script. And it's just a variable saying, is it a send request? Is it a get request? Are you the host? And it will determine what to do from there. Here's the MP join. Handles the connections. Doesn't have UDP yet, so I'm still working on that. And this just shows you the different options you have. And you can set it to another script, like let's say you want a message script, and you can have an argument of 0 or 1 depending on if it's a set or get. And that will make it less cluttered in one script if you'd like, which is probably a good idea. And then lobby settings, the game itself, the game point display or achievement, my logo, the download object, and the test objects. And all the rooms are there. And that wraps up the API. The security of the API encrypts the passwords and secure information sent to the server and hash checks it. The saves are encrypted and hash checked, and the variables are also hash checked. So it's come a long way since the beginning of this development, and so you don't have to worry about that stuff as much. And finally, it is only GameMaker enabled right now. If there's more support for other platforms, then I can start porting it over a little bit if there's enough interest. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I hope you enjoy the API.